and once a man is in your home, anything you do to him is nice and legal.
Oh, Flanders, won't you join me in my kitchen?
It doesn't work if you invite him.
In Trump's second term, ICE has been bringing in a lot of new agents. I'm Lil Demmie, by the way, and I'm joined as usual by Uncle Sam.
This ICE expansion did not escape Senator Chris Murphy's attention as he addressed Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow.
And quality has suffered, as will happen when an organization expands rapidly in number while contracting rapidly in ethics.
It hasn't always gone well. For instance, they raided apartment complexes in Colorado that were supposedly centers of gang activity, only to return with very few arrests and some humiliating footage.
They found blood-stained walls, but no gang members.
So maybe now ICE is on Homer Simpson-level recruits, which is why they sort of pulled a Homer in Newark.
Did you forget that pulling a homer requires some sort of success like finding a pretzel?
Maybe they found a pretzel, but they definitely arrested current New Jersey Mayor Ras Baraka outside a private prison in Newark. This prison was run by the GEO Group, which often acts as a contractor for ICE.
CoreCivic and GEO Group derive respectively 27 and 30% of their revenues from contracts for ICE detention. This is such an appealing model for ICE. They get to outsource the headaches and responsibilities of these facilities. After the election, stock prices for private prison companies like GEO Group and CoreCivic soared. As a general rule, if something happens that causes a private prison company to get really excited, that thing was bad.
The GEO Group was built for this unique moment in our country's history.
If you ever come home and your spouse tells you, honey, I did something today and the GEO Group is super excited about it, you are in for a relationship-altering conversation.
Anyway, the GEO Group had recently reopened Newark's Delaney Hall, but now is a prison intended for ICE detention. Baraka had been complaining for over a month about this reopening being done against the city government's wishes and not in compliance with local law. The city sued the GEO Group about the local law part, and the lawsuit was in federal court when Baraka went to Delaney Hall.
The city of Newark has a dispute with GEO about a certificate of occupancy, about them allowing our inspectors in the buildings, health inspectors and fire inspectors, who they've been rejecting every day. Every day we go there, we put the thing on the door and we leave. We're in court right now. They dispute that. They dispute that they should have an updated certificate of occupancy. They haven't had one in 20 years. We say that they need one because the local law demands that they have to get a change of use. They dispute that, and that's their right to dispute it. But the person that settles that is a judge in a court of law.
Then on Friday, 3 members of New Jersey's congressional delegation went to get a tour of Delaney Hall as part of oversight of its use in ICE. These were New Jersey 12 Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, New Jersey 10 Representative LaMonica McIver, and New Jersey 8 Representative Rob Menendez. In case you're wondering, Rob Menendez is the son of disgraced former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez.
Myself, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, and Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman appeared at Delaney Hall. Now, as members of Congress, we have a statutory right to make an unannounced visit to any ICE facility, which we've done previously at the Elizabeth Detention Center, and that was our intention today at Delaney Hall, a recently opened, privately run detention center in the city of Newark.
We arrived at the facility, the 3 of us, the 3 members of Congress, around 1 o'clock, introduced ourselves to the person who was at the gate, told him why we were there, told him under the law we had the right to conduct an oversight visit, and that's what we were doing.
When we got there, this is important, there was maybe 3 people there, right? We went inside and were there for over an hour and a half.
He talked back and forth to people. No one said anything to us. They wouldn't give us any information. Finally, after pressuring him, they brought some other officials out. We told them who we were and why we were there and that we had the right to be there. They opened the gate to let a car out. So we walked into the gate, inside the gate, and again, identified who we were and why we were there. And they said, we're trespassing. And I said, absolutely not. We're federal elected officials that have the legal authority to conduct an on-site oversight in tour. And that's what we're here for.
We were allowed in. We were told to wait for ICE brass from Newark to arrive. We were sitting there for over an hour.
After a while, some more ICE officials came around. We went up into a facility, which is like a holding area, and spent time with the individual who operates as a warden, although he's called something else, who was very nice to us. And we kept explaining to him why we were there. We asked him to call whatever officials he needed to call to get us access to do the tour. Various people came down, said they didn't have any authority. They're talking to the next person at the next level, and on and on and on. We were there about almost 2 hours.
What happened as we were sitting there when it reached the hour and a half point was the ICE brass that we had been waiting for came into the small waiting room that we were sitting in, walked by us and walked towards the gate that we came into. I followed them, as did the other two Congress members, and that is when we found out or realized that Mayor Baraka was there.
These other leaders from ICE, who we understand are the highest officials in ICE in New Jersey, they came to the room where we were being held, spoke, and then immediately went back outside. And so my colleagues and I were wondering what's going on out there. We go out there and we find that the mayor is talking to some of the officials inside the gate.
Were you trying to go into the gate?
No, I was already inside. I didn't have to try to go in.
Okay.
I was there for about over an hour.
When we came back, that's when we saw the mayor. The mayor left to go back to the public side of the gate. My understanding is that he was allowed in.
I was there for over an hour in that space, and nobody ever told me to move. I was in there for over an hour. Not a single person, not an officer from ICE, not any of the security guards. Nobody told me to leave that place. Somebody from Homeland Security came in the end and began to escalate the situation, and we wound up being where we are today.
And when I say allowed in, I mean no more than 3 steps onto the other side of the gate when ICE approached him about having to leave because he was trespassing.
After they told us to leave, we left.
By the time we reached the mayor, the ICE official says to him, "You're trespassing. You have to leave this area." He politely moved out of the area, went behind the gate, stood out there where the protesters were, which is not their property, not this organization's property.
The members of Congress didn't come down here to protest. They came down here to get a tour of the building. They made them wait over an hour. I was waiting outside for them to return so I could be a part of a press conference that they were having after it to talk to us about what they actually saw in the building. Unfortunately, none of that got to take place because the gentleman you see in this photo, the video had completely escalated this situation to a point where it didn't need to be.
As we were walking back up to the holding area, thinking that we were going to begin our tour, ICE officials started huddling and talking to other people on the phone.
Mayor Baraka was told he was trespassing. There was a conversation with ICE. Eventually, Mayor Baraka goes back onto the public side of the gate. The gate closes, and that should have been the end of it. But ICE and a member of the ICE team that was there was on the phone with someone who told the person there, even though Mayor Baraka was on the public side of the fence, to go arrest him. And then they opened the gate up. There were over 20 armed ICE agents, over 20.
We overheard the ICE officials say, "Okay, we're going to arrest him." To which we said, "Arrest him for what? He's out there with the protesters." But they ignored us. They wouldn't answer any of our questions. So when they opened the gate to go with their 20-some weaponed officials out there, the 3 of us, the 3 members of Congress, went out there to shield the mayor.
He goes to the other side of the gate, back to the public side, right? The gate closes. Again, that's where this all should have ended. But instead, they chose to open the gate back up, leave the, ICE area to the public side, And that's where they arrested him and put him in handcuffs.
We got out of the gate. They, I guess, made a decision to come around the gate after we left to arrest me outside of the gate.
Masked, armed individuals, they approached the mayor.
Obviously, protesters and the Congresspeople were upset. They tried to intervene. And so, you know, I thought it would be better for us to just go ahead with these guys, and so we not cause further kind of disruption there.
ICE officials were saying, don't escalate this. So I said, you showed up to engage the mayor of Newark with 20 armed individuals who are masked, many of whhom were masked.
They are reckless and unhinged.
They arrested Mayor Baraka, and there was an immense amount of physical interaction, not just with myself, but with Congressman Coleman and with Congresswoman McIver. These individuals, ICE officers, put their hands on 2 female members of Congress. Me getting pushed around is fine. I don't mind, right? But what they did to Bonnie Watson Coleman, and especially LaMonica McIver.
If you think that they can treat 3 members of Congress like this and a mayor, the mayor of the largest city in New Jersey, they will treat anybody any kind of way.
After they had arrested the mayor, a large ICE officer put both of his hands and shoved LaMonica.
The mayor was not trespassing. I don't see how this is even a legal arrest.
That's because it wasn't a legitimate arrest, more like a kidnapping. ICE is supposed to be arresting aliens subject to removal from the US, not citizens accused of trespassing. If it were going to add trespassing, it would have to become Ice-T.
I know you have been charged with trespassing, which just seems completely insane. Were you told at all why you were charged with trespassing?
No, they charged me, I guess, based on the charge that they can find. We was actually allowed on the property in the first place. Nothing happened for a long time. For at least over an hour. And then, after they finally told us to leave, and I told them I was leaving.
In the arrest videos, you see a lot of vests for HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. HSI still isn't about trespassing. It's about things like cybercrime, smuggling, and weapons trafficking.
I spent my last few hours in holding area inside of I believe it's a detention facility that they have here in the city of Newark, that Homeland Security has.
It seems to me that Baraka was being held by HSI to wait for someone from DOJ who could actually charge Baraka with federal trespassing. No, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an old guy from posters who points at you and tells you to invade Greenland. But even I know trespassing is mainly a state crime, enforceable by, say, the police for the city of Newark. Federal trespassing exists, but it's mainly for national parks and places like the US Capitol with politicians who get Secret Service protection. The GEO Group is a private, for-profit company, and its property would be covered by state trespassing. But any non-public GEO Group areas aren't any more relevant for federal trespassing than an employee-only room at the McDonald's. And that's before you get into the Homer Simpson-style stuff about letting the guy onto your property and then attacking him when he's not even there anymore. But we knew this wasn't about trespassing, because we just have to listen to the Trump administration describe what the supposed crime is.
It's very simple, Martha. As I've said, in the state of New Jersey, as Pam Bondi has said in the United States, we will not stand for anybody getting in the way of getting rid of criminals in this country.
Interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Hava, says she and Pam Bondi are against people getting in the way, such as pesky local governments inconveniencing ICE or GEO with laws or lawsuits. The same sort of incompetence and ethical vacuum that has been hitting DHS has been common in other areas of the Trump administration, such as DOJ.
Somebody said to me, Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy. Pretty. I can fake being smart.
No, you can't, Alina. But what you at home can do is like the video and subscribe to Little Demmie, and we'll see you next time.